Hello, friends, and a blessed Christmas to you all. The first thing I do when I wake up is look at my phone to see what time it is. A few years ago, I glanced at my phone through blurry eyes. First, I saw that it was 7 degrees outside, which didn't make me want to get out of bed. Then I saw a text message had arrived in the middle of the night while I'd been sleeping, and it was attached to a phone number, not a name. It said, "God morning." Now, I'm sure the texter meant good morning. You know how difficult it can be to text with correct spelling sometimes. God morning. Hope you slept well. Have a great day. Loving you deeply. That was one great text message. I walked around feeling loved all day long. Have no idea who sent it. The phone number was attached, not a name. The text message was a message intended for someone else, or maybe not. It may just have been God's way of reminding me that I was loved that day. I could have texted the person back to say, "Thanks, you too," and "Who are you anyway?" But I didn't really want to know who it was. I wanted to believe that I was the one being loved anonymously and deeply. That message certainly got my attention, but it told me nothing about who had sent it. The birth of Jesus on this very night so long ago was a not so anonymous message sent to the world by God. Of course, it was not the first time God had sent a message to his people, and this message tonight certainly wasn't out of the blue. The message sent to the world with the arrival of his Son was what God had wanted people to know for generations. Everyone who'd been paying attention to the prophets should have expected this. Jesus' birth. Unlike my anonymous texter, the birth of God's Son tells us everything about the one who sent him. It tells us that God is accessible and present and crying loudly for all to hear. You are mine, and I send you my Son because I love you deeply. This is a God not afraid to offer love, even with the real possibility of being rejected. God is just as present and active now as when he was imagining and shaping the world we live in, or leading the children of Israel to freedom through the wilderness with a pillar of fire by night and a column of smoke by day. The gift of Jesus we receive tonight on Christmas Eve is God's way of saying to the whole world, loving you deeply. Tonight, the birth of a child sends a message that we can hold in our hearts, as Mary did. A message that grows in us with each Christmas Eve, like a child grows. A message we can pass on to others. Because God became one of us in the birth of Jesus, his Son, we have become bearers of God's message of love. The world looks to us to hear God's voice, to see God's care, to feel God's healing embrace. The message we leave with tonight surely warms our hearts, but also must bless those with whom we share God's creation. As we study the life Jesus lived and the death he died, his teachings, and we learn about his relationships, God's message grows in us. Be healed, sick people. God loves you deeply. Be alive, people who have died inside. God loves you deeply. Be free, forgiven people. God loves you deeply. We all need to hear this message again and again. Mary did. I suspect she heard it from Gabriel and then kept it to herself until she heard it again from her cousin Elizabeth. And then tonight she heard it from total strangers, shepherds who were knocked to the ground by the message and surrounded by the glory of God bursting loudly through the heavens. Tonight, on Christmas Eve, the world celebrates receiving a message from God with flesh on it, which we can hold in our arms as well as in our hearts, which we can hear in the song of angels and in the laughter of shepherds. Because God is with us. God's message of deep love is no longer confined to words on a page or from a pulpit, or distributed by one church but not another. God sent his Son to be with all of us because he loves all of us deeply. And that's a message we can share with a broken world which is anxious and ready for good news, which we can taste on our lips when we take bread and wine, which we can feel in our bones when we are forgiven for past hurts. A message we all need to hear again and again and again. This is a message God never tires of sending. You, my friends, are loved deeply. Merry Christmas.